Hi everybody, happy Saturday. So welcome to my third top tip to getting pregnant. So it's getting pregnant in general, but the reason for me starting the channel is that I struggled with infertility myself. So it took quite a few years for us to be able to get pregnant, and I'm a fertility coach. I'm based in the UK. I work with people all over the world. And if you haven't seen tip number 1 and 2, go back and watch those first. So this is going to be a 10-part series, so my top 10 tips for conceiving, getting pregnant, especially if you're struggling with infertility. And it's things that I've learned and implemented along the way with myself and my fertility clients. So you'll see, if you follow me and you've watched the other videos, that I talk about the chapters of the book. So chapter 1, just to recap, is about knowledge about ourselves. So we need to know everything. We need to be able to get a book and say, yeah, we've got everything in here about ourselves. We know our cycle, we know ovulation, we know how we're doing it, we know our temperatures, we know everything. Tip number 2 and chapter number 2 within the book that we create about ourselves needs to be research. So if we buy in something, we need to understand what it's going to do for us, why it's going to do that, how that's going to change us and our body to do what we need it to do to get pregnant. So we need to understand how something's going to benefit us. So they're the first 2 chapters. Now chapter 3, and it's a big old chapter, so we will talk more about this as time goes on, is diet. Now, I have a lot of clients who come to me who are in a process of trying to lose weight. And generally, a lot of people who are diagnosed with polycystic ovaries, for some reason, always get told to lose weight before they can conceive, or before they'll even be considered with fertility treatment. And it's not just down to, in England, we have like a BMI criteria, but it's not just down to that. Polycystic ovaries and weight, certainly in England, seem to come hand in hand, and that's the first thing that people are generally told to do: go away and lose some weight, and then we'll discuss it again. So most people who come to me are in a position where they're either trying to be healthier anyway, or lose weight, or just eat better. So food is a really big part of ovulation, and what I will go into more over the days is when, for example, I or your fertility coach or nutritionist or whoever you're going to speak to is telling you to digest certain foods and have certain things and avoid certain things, there's a reason. So my general rules that I tend to say to people is fresh is best. So as fresh as you can stand something and get your hands on it, that's best. So fresh vegetables, fresh meat. Generally try and avoid anything that is processed and packaged. So if it's in a package, it generally means it's not fresh. So as fresh as possible. Now, I'm all about making small, manageable changes. So I'm not one to go and say, right, okay, go and take all your foods that you've got out of your fridge, freezer, your cupboard, your pantry. Go and buy a whole new trolley load of food that you don't like, you're not going to digest, but it's healthy for you. That there's no point in that. You're better off to make small, manageable changes that you can keep on top of. And one of the biggest things is we've got to be able to enjoy our food. How many people have started a diet, because I've done it millions of times, and done a diet where you know that you're not going to enjoy your food. So you do a few days of it and think, oh, I'm bored of this, and you start to then binge a little bit, and then because you've had a bad day, you think, oh, well, I'll start again next week. So that turns into a week, and if you watch my other videos, you'll see I'm all about us falling into cycles. So my general tips are avoid takeaway as much as possible. And now, that's not me saying don't ever have a takeaway again, because if that's what you want to do or you enjoy eating out, then you don't want to take all of your pleasure away, because you will end up resenting your diet, and then you'll end up falling into this, well, I'm going to binge anyway. So just try and limit it to maybe once a week that you're eating out, or that you are having a takeaway. Avoid anything, and a lot of people do this, they'll say, oh, well, I'm having something with like no sugar, no fat. Generally, if you're having something with no sugar, no fat, the taste is coming from somewhere else. So it's normally made up with like quite a high volume of artificial sweetener, food colourings, additives. So if something tastes nice and it's saying it's got no fat, no sugar, all, you know, all of that, the taste is coming from somewhere. So just be very careful. And a lot of my clients who come to me and speak to me about diet are quite shocked when I start telling them to have, you know, full fat dairy and eat like full fats, rather than, and you're better off to have a better quality of something than have something that's advertised as low fat, low sugar, no fat, no sugar, and it's full to the brim of artificial sweetener, for example. So just be careful around that. I always say to people, try and keep your variety high. So if, for example, your two favourite fruit are strawberries and banana, that'll do you okay for a few days, but after 3 or 4 days of strawberry and banana, you're going to be bored to death of seeing them, so you're not going to keep up with it. Try and keep your variety high. Try and stop your mind and body getting bored of the same things, tasting the same things all the time. So variety is key, and that's in all aspects. So very often people will like say to me what they're eating, and it's very often a beige plate. So it's normally something processed, like fries, processed meat, like breaded chicken, pasta. And what I always say to people is give yourself a bit of a challenge to have as many colours on the plate as possible. So, and be fresh with your ideas of how you're cooking things. So if you've got a plate, you want half of your plate to be like healthy vegetables or healthy fruit. So we'll base it around an evening meal, for example. So you've got a half and you've got 2/4. So we always say try and have a fresh red cut of meat, so like steak, pork chop, something that's not processed, so like breaded chicken. Avoid like bacon, sausages, like the processed food. So you want either a nice fresh cut of red meat, poultry, so like your chicken breast, turkey breast, and if you're vegetarian, just replace that quarter with your alternative of what you would normally have. So 1/4 of your plate is going to be made up with that. The other 1/4 is going to be made up with your starchy and your filling carbs. So for example, if you're going to have potatoes, so say you have like mashed potatoes, boiled potatoes, and then the other half is going to be of all your vegetables. Now, people sometimes say, oh, I'm getting a bit bored of vegetables, but there's so many ways, like boil them, steam them, saute them, roast them. Like you can put things in stew, in soups, like whatever you need to do, you're getting the goodness out of it. Because again, reverting back to the wheel, if we're eating the wrong foods, we feel a bit rubbish, we have a bit of a sugar or salt rush, and then we have this dip, then we feel like we need to have something again, and then we've got no energy, so we end up ordering takeout or eating out because we can't be bothered. Then we're not, you see, we're falling into this wheel again, and it's just a cycle. So we have to break that cycle. So that's sort of what you want your plate ideally to be made up of. So you want the biggest portion to be of your fresh fruit or vegetables. So we say aim for between 2 and 3 cups of fruit or vegetables with each meal. So a cup would class as like this. So if you think that sounds like quite a lot, but if you were doing like broccoli, it would be really easy to fill a cup of broccoli and a cup of cauliflower, for example. So it soon fills up. And so as fresh as possible, as many colours as possible, as much variety as possible. The meats that you are having, try and make them as fresh as possible. Cook them well. So seasoning is, thank goodness for seasoning. So I like just like sea salt, pepper. You can use mustard, you can use powders. Try and avoid some of the creamy marinades because they can hide lots and lots of like naughty ingredients. And one of the things I spoke about yesterday was just being very careful about things that are branded as healthy snacks and healthy alternatives. And like I said, with the low fat sugars and no fat and all of that, they generally, the taste is coming from somewhere. So just try and have a look. One of the things that I talk about is rewarding yourself and making small manageable changes. So I don't see the point in us starting something we know we can't stick to. We know it's going to be hard, we know it's going to be a change, but if it's something small and manageable, we are much more likely to stick to it. So do that. Have a bit of a plan. So you can get like food planners from everywhere now, or even just a piece of paper on the fridge, so you know you've got something to stick to. And if you live with someone else in your home, make each other accountable. So if one of you comes in from work or from university, or you've had a rough day and you think, oh, let's just order the takeout, the other one needs to be the person to say, no, it's Wednesday, we said we were going to have whatever we're going to have. So you've got to make yourself accountable for these things and reward yourself. Now, rewarding yourself with food is a really tricky relationship, and I used to do this. So I'd be really good all week, and then, for example, we may go out on like a Saturday or have takeaway. All day Sunday I would eat rubbish, and then I would really struggle to get back onto it from Monday. Then I would think, well, I've had a slip up, so I might as well not bother. And the mentality of it for me was always the game changer. Like, once I sorted the mentality out, I can eat things in proportion now. Because I would say I'll treat myself to 2 chocolate biscuits, and then I would eat the whole packet. I didn't have a good mindset with food, and it's something that I talk to people a lot about, and I do a specific gastric band hypnotherapy for it, and about binge eating, our relationship with food, about making healthier choices. So it's a really big part of it. But do reward yourself. It hasn't got to be with food. If it wants to be with food, start to have a look at one of the things I recommend to people is protein balls that you can make. They're really good. They're no bake, no cook. You can add lots and lots of different things, lots of different flavours into them. They're quite rich, so you generally only want 1 or 2, which stops you eating the whole batch. They're made at home. They're really easy, really fast to make. So try and have a look at making something yourself. And it's something to do, isn't it? Especially during this pandemic when we're all locked down again. Well, we are in the UK. So have a look at that. Have a look at different things that you can make and recipes. So try and avoid boredom. And this is what I was saying about variety. And diet is something that we're discussing over on the Facebook event that's happening at the moment. And explaining, for example, if we tell you not to eat a certain food, why we're telling you not to do that, what is that going to do for your body? If we're telling you to eat something because it's going to change your eggs that you're producing, so not only will it maybe be the difference between you producing an egg and not producing an egg, it can be the difference between you producing a low quality or poor quality egg to producing a high quality fertile egg. So again, referring back to chapter 1 and 2, have the knowledge, do the research, implement the change. And again, it's just this big cycle. So reward yourself. It can be with food. Try and make it as healthy as possible, or a manageable portion. If you struggle, like I did for a very long time with that, it hasn't got to be food. It can be a nice hot bath. It can be a glass of wine. It can be treating yourself to a new book that you wanted, or something to, just something that you want to do for you and that you know you're going to enjoy. So we're slowly building up the chapters. So if this is useful to you and you want to watch the other 7 days that are going to be coming up, then please subscribe, like the video, invite anyone that you think it may benefit. Tomorrow we're going to be going even more in depth with food, so enjoy your weekends and keep safe.